Okay, we are live and we are here to talk about generative AI in ServiceNow. This is probably one of the most common questions we get from our ServiceNow customers is how do I wire up ServiceNow and shift left my conversations into chat, into self-service, into enabling my customers to be able to do more by themselves. It certainly is something that's coming about in executive teams. And we're here to talk about it today and even give you two different ways that you can make it real in your organization. So this is something that is much broader than ServiceNow, the conversation of AI, but we're targeting it down to how this can accelerate your IT capabilities and how you deliver benefit to your individual end users within the organization. And we have two excellent experts here to discuss it within the context of ServiceNow's native capabilities and Copilot Studio. So we have Brian Shrippy and Ajay Ravi. So why don't you guys introduce yourself a little bit?
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, my name is Brian Shrippy. I'm the lead technical architect for the ServiceNow practice here at Concurrency. I've got about 2 decades in the ITSM and IT operations space, and I've been in the ecosystems of multiple products over the course of those 2 decades. And yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about some of the newest AI interfaces with ServiceNow. And I'll pass it over to my colleague AJ.
Thanks, Brian. My name is Ajay, and I'm working with Concurrency for almost the past 5 years, mainly on the business app and the low-code, no-code side of things, like the Power Platform, Dynamics 365. So yeah, really looking forward to this event.
Awesome,
Awesome.
guys. Go for it.
So, for everybody that's on the phone, one of the big themes for 2024 is this, right? AI and generative AI and things like Sora and all of these newest advances have proliferated the market. And it's now come to the fold that almost every single company is trying to get their arms around some sort of generalized AI strategy, whether it be in the Microsoft ecosystem, whether it be in the ServiceNow ecosystem. Everybody is trying to make use and come up with specific use cases for generative AI in their environments. And ServiceNow has explored this for the past 7 years. They've been working towards this end state, and now they have produced some really, really fantastic capabilities in different areas of ServiceNow, and we'll explore those in addition to some offerings that Microsoft has now brought into the fold and linking up to ServiceNow. So you have avenues in both areas. If you have a ServiceNow platform, or if you have ServiceNow in a specific state and you have a Microsoft Copilot subscription, you have opportunities to expand AI into your ITSM and IT operations platforms across the board. So what have we been seeing? The world of work is really kind of getting challenging now. Um, a lot of time is being lost in resources and employees searching for information, getting answers to questions, and trying to complete specific tasks or workflows and things throughout their day. When they come into new employee experiences or a new application and they have to context switch to that application, their time is getting taken from them trying to reorient themselves to maybe a new UX, UI, or new experience or new interaction. And a lot of times employees are missing really important information because they're having to go to multiple different applications in order to do things within the IT estate. So ServiceNow is trying to rectify that by giving them new experiences. And with the proliferation of different services inside the organization, you know, we're seeing a huge influx in incident volume, customer service cases, back-end technology operations incidents and events. And all of these things are just coming into our ITSM platforms, our operations platforms, and just proliferating the amount of time that analysts and back-end IT operations resources are spending trying to manage, triage, and take care of these instances in their environment to maximize service downtime and interactions with their employees. So on both sides of the house, we're really seeing this proliferation of incidents and tasks and things. So how is ServiceNow and, in some ways Microsoft tailoring their experiences to kind of combat some of these things? So ServiceNow has been working for a very long time on back-end machine learning, predictive analytics, and now with their integration of ServiceNow's LLM, generative AI solutions, to help kind of claw back some of that time, not only on the employee side, but also on the analyst side. So how is it going to change the enterprise? So what ServiceNow is aiming for specifically, and Microsoft, is they're trying to transform how users are interacting with specific platforms, mainly through the experiences of chat and the experiences of, web front ends, in order to be able to go to singular areas in order to get all of their needs met, right? So essentially meeting the customer where they are, whether it be in a Teams platform or a employee center experience. Wherever they are, we should be able to get them the data that they need, be able to help them execute the tasks that they need to execute, and be able to resolve those tasks expediently with a degree of efficiency that exponentially gives the IT organization some, time back, which is ultimately dollar savings, right? So we want to do all of these things. We want to increase productivity, we want to increase agility, and ServiceNow helps us do this in a few ways. And then later on, we're going to talk about how we can integrate Microsoft's solutions into the fold as well. So Now Assist is the platform of this next generation experience and productivity platform. So it's a back-ended LLM specifically designed by ServiceNow for ServiceNow, and it covers the entire ecosystem of ServiceNow, from the developer all the way to the employee. Now, I can spend 4 hours talking about all of this in its entirety, but for this specific chat, we're going to hone in on two very specific areas. So one being the agent, the other being the employee, because anybody knows in an IT operations workspace, those two areas are the resounding amount of time that a lot of our organizations spend dealing with people. So out comes Now Assist for ITSM specifically, because we're seeing a lot of interactions for ITSM, giving the enterprise a lot more benefit for the dollars that they're spending on implementing these specific outcomes, right? So what are some of the benefits? So we can help our end users in their employee interactions. We can decrease MTTR for our incidents, and we can resolve incidents faster and more expediently. So how does it do this? So with the proliferation of LLMs this year, summation has become very integral to how users are consuming data, how agents are consuming data. And in this interaction that I'm showing you here on the screen, it's a end user asking for information and wanting to talk to a agent, and the agent needs to have an understanding of all of that summation. And what ServiceNow does is take that interaction from chat and summarizes it for the agent, such that they now have the entirety of the chat right at their fingertips, so they don't have to go and crawl through the entire interaction in order to showcase what's been talked about previously. So it also helps the initial analyst, but also helps the tertiary analysts after the fact if that interaction gets transformed into an incident. All of these questions and answers and information gathering is all right at the agent's fingertips. So it reduces the amount of time that they're spending researching what has happened with this particular ticket or request or customer service case. It also does task summarization. So a lot of times we're going through what has been going on with this specific incident or change or request over time. And there's all this activity that's in the activity log. And we spend a lot of our time just going through and trying to understand everything that's been done. And with incident summary for ServiceNow, it takes all of that agent activity and summarizes it in a nice, handy little bubble that can be not only added to the ticket itself, but shown on screen right there, front and center, such that any agent or analyst that's taking a look at this has instant access to everything that's been done with that particular incident. So again, that concept of summation, wrapping up all of the needed data in a correlated environment where they can take action right then and there. So resolutions are also a big thing for wrapping up a ticket. And a lot of times we see tickets that don't have resolution codes. We don't see tickets that have resolution summaries. Well, ServiceNow's taken that also into account and is now dynamically posting resolution codes and notes into the ticket just by nature of clicking the resolve button. So it automatically is doing that for us. So what does that get us? It gets us more accurate completeness with our tickets. It gets us faster resolution times. Our agents don't have to go in and put resolution information inside of their tickets because ServiceNow can wrap up all that information in a summarized text and just implement that into our resolution notes. And it, again, saves time. Like the theme of the year is how do we save as much time and generate as much efficiency as we can with the workforce that we have.
Hey, Brian, is that gathering, is it gathering that from like, okay, let's say you're on a conversation with a customer. Is it gathering that from live conversations, or is it from like when it says actions, like what does that mean?
Yeah, so it can do all that. So it'll take a look at all of the interactions over the course of the entirety of the ticket. And if there is a like solution proposed for a particular incident or a knowledge article that's been given to that end user, even from the context of chat, and all of that chat summation notes can go inside of the ticket, either from the interaction itself or by nature of adding those to the work notes of the ticket. Agent summary can go and resolution summary can go and grab all that information and through context can wrap that information into a summation and then apply that to the context of the ticket inside of a resolution.
That's cool. I was thinking, as you were talking, and we're not really showing this today, but this would be an interesting plug-in for when Ajay gets to talking about Copilot Studio, where M365 Copilot, if it's recording the call, could summarize that, even insert that into the chat as well.
Yeah, because now with Teams being able to take call translation and push that into, oh yeah, that's a definite use case for sure. Another thing that we always run into when we're dealing with, incidents specifically, is a lot of times the wrapping up of that incident and the resolution of that incident doesn't always make it into a knowledge article. And I find that a lot in our clients that have maybe a minimal knowledge footprint. And a lot of times it's just because of the time it takes to create a knowledge article. And basically what I'm showing you here in this little video over here is knowledge being drafted ad hoc from the click of a button. And that's extremely powerful nowadays because if you can drastically reduce the amount of time that it takes to generate an article and get that up into your knowledge base, leveraging the power of an LLM and being able to generate that article dynamically is huge. It is a great time saver. It adds to your knowledge repository, and that information can further be surfaced by ServiceNow and their LLM through a mechanism that we're going to show you in a minute. And please, if anybody has any questions or anything, please feel free to just add them into the chat and we'll get all of those answered as soon as we can. So we just talked about being able to create knowledge articles dynamically. And what I'm showing you here in this little example over here is somebody who's asking just generically what the travel policy is for hotels in your organization, right? And one thing that the old ServiceNow virtual agent would do is surface the entire knowledge article to you and say, hey, go take a look at this. But now with the integration of ServiceNow's LLM is they can go and hone in directly on the answer that the employee may be looking for in the context of the knowledge article itself, right? So it can give them an actionable answer from the chat itself, giving them the answer in place of having them have to go and read something like this entire document, right? Like a lot of times you don't want to have your employees just go read the entire document, just give them the answer right then and there. And being able to add that information to your knowledge repository ad hoc, just think of the power of that from an end user experience and having them be able to actionably get an answer right from the context of their query. That's hugely powerful for being able to, get employees' questions answered. And if you think about that from other business areas, you could, from ServiceNow, you could bring in HR documentation. You could bring in other business area, financial, legal. All of that information can be brought into your knowledge repositories and then be able to be queried by the LLM such that your employees can now get answers just generally from their queries. And another powerful thing is intent-based request provisioning, right? So this is pretty cool. So in this example, what they're doing is we're asking ServiceNow that I need a blue iPhone 15 with 256 gigs and I need it by tomorrow. So our request has a whole bunch of questions that we normally ask as a byproduct of making a request for an iPhone, right? But the old virtual agent couldn't necessarily decipher the intent of actually wanting this iPhone with this color and this specific size, right? But with ServiceNow, we can take the intent of that question and without previous context, take that information, ask all the additional questions that we would need as a part of generating that request, and dynamically fill in the information from their original intent-based question, right? So in this instance, they're asking different questions for that particular request. And ultimately, when they provision this request, it will automatically fill in the fact that they wanted a blue phone, the fact that they wanted the size to be 256 gigs, and the shipping and location criteria. Additionally, if they made a change to that request, they could take other intent, say you wanted the size wasn't the right size. See how in here it put blue 256 and the time frame, right? Now, if you wanted to change that and say, oh, well, that's not really the right size that I need. Maybe I need something bigger and I want the max size, or I need a different model. Just by typing that in your change, it can take the intent of that and dynamically change the request. Something that we haven't seen in the original, early versions of a virtual agent. So hugely powerful. So what have we seen and what has ServiceNow seen the proliferation of this LLM and integration into generative AI, and what savings is it going to give us? Now, I'll warn you, this is a very, very large slide, right? And it's got a lot of data in it, but I kind of want to hone in on just a few things here. One of which is the reduction in incident volume. So over the course of time, that ServiceNow has put this in practice, this for Now Assist, specifically for ITSM. And this generally goes across the variety of Now Assistants for the different platforms, for developer and for CSM and case management. But generally, they're seeing a 15% reduction in just incident volume from the employee front end, right? Just being able to answer questions, guide them through request frameworks, being able to actionably search. All of that is a complete reduction. And then if you add that on to additional automation reduction, you can see anywhere from 15 to 30% efficiency gains, and not only reductions in incident volume, but culminate that with and combine it with automation efficiency. You can see how much time savings you can start clawing back from not only your employees having to spend the time to do X, Y, and Z thing, but also your agents having to, summarize, get information, attach knowledge, generate knowledge, resolve. Hugely, hugely impressive. Also, being able to increase agent productivity, right? Being able to make sure our tickets have all the complete information, gathering the information from chat-based intent, being able to make sure that their resolutions are properly put in with the proper information, making sure that knowledge articles are getting created. All of that just increases agent productivity, right? And that's what a lot of our clients are really striving towards, and they're driving towards that end goal, is being able to do more with the people that they have, especially in the ecosystem that we're living in right now. But Gen AI doesn't just stop with ITSM. So ServiceNow is transforming this across almost every single module in all of ServiceNow's ecosystem. So we're not only talking ITSM, we're taking HR, we're talking CSM, we're talking creator, being able to transform experiences not only on the front end of ServiceNow through Employee Center and being able to transform all of those interactions, but also for the developer. And I encourage you, if you haven't taken a look at it, going to take a look at Now Assist for Creator and being able to do text to code or text to flow or text to entire application. Imagine that, being able to create an automation either through, citizen development and being able to say, hey, I need an automation that'll help me do X, Y, and Z, and have the flow dynamically created just based on your chat intent. Hugely impressive. And it's really a testament to just the world we're living in and the explosion of transformation that we're seeing in the generative AI space. So what does this look like? So for anybody that's on ITSM standard, sadly, you're going to need to make the shift up to ITSM Professional. And Now Assist for ITSM is an add-on for that. But I'd like to point out what you get in that shift up to ITSM Pro. So you're getting things like virtual agent, you're getting things like predictive intelligence. If you're doing anything in the vendor management area and trying to vet and assess risk for vendors, that's another added value add. Performance analytics and DevOps. A lot of times we're starting to hear of companies that want to integrate their DevOps pipelines inside of ServiceNow and be able to attach that to change management. If that's something that's on your docket, or you have, if you're working in a Jira instance and want some transparency there, you might want to look into making the shift up to ITSM Professional. A lot of our customers are moving on their ITSM journey down the path of trying to enable more of these end user experiences and deeper understanding of their data for the C-suite executives. And maybe out of box dashboarding isn't really cutting it. So performance analytics is hugely becoming more and more popular. And then add on the efficiencies gained for ITSM. If you could take some of the outcomes and the efficiency gains that you're seeing and just do some generalized calculations on time savings against your initial targeted numbers for what you're seeing as far as incident inflows, change inflows, agent interactions. If you have any data that is around time and what your average salary costs are per employee, and you can do some generalized math there, you might find that the savings and efficiency gains that you can garner by employing some of these into your environments can maybe offset or even give you a value add over time to the financial outlay that you may have to do from the uplift from going from something like standard to professional. So I encourage you to, you can speak with us or speak with ServiceNow on how that looks, but I just wanted to give you kind of an understanding of what is the impact of developing on ITSM for Now Assist and what it takes to get you there. And then some final things. Vancouver is the current, but Washington, D.C. is very, very close to becoming out there. And I wanted to just let you know that there are some enhancements that are coming with the Washington, D.C. release. And one of those is, being able to do knowledge generation and root cause analysis and generative app creation for developing without having to write singular code. So those three key features are coming in the next release in Washington, D.C. So it's going to be extremely exciting for the next release, especially as it relates to how generative AI is, fast becoming evolved inside the ServiceNow ecosystem. But what I wanted to do, and I wanted to focus a little bit of time here, and I'm going to pass this over to Ajay, is I wanted to spend some time helping you guys understand that we're not just a ServiceNow shop. We also have deep, deep Microsoft background. So regardless of where you're at, whether it be ITSM and ServiceNow, or Azure, or machine learning, or AI, or Copilot, or M365, Concurrency has deep, deep understanding in all of these areas. But specifically, I wanted to focus on how Copilot and its feature functionality can also be integrated into ServiceNow if, let's say, you didn't want to make the financial outlay, but you did have Copilot through maybe your Microsoft subscriptions. Maybe there's a case where you can integrate a Teams experience to get some of these similar functionalities that ServiceNow is doing, but in the realm of Copilot. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ajay, and we're going to walk through some of the Copilot scenarios. Ajay?
Yep. Thanks, Brian, for that intro. So Microsoft released Copilot Studio as a part of last year's Ignite, and then so previously there was Power Virtual Agent functionality, but with the generative AI functionalities and everything coming up, so Microsoft introduced this, and it allows you to connect various your local business details, or even the Azure OpenAI or different GPT models. So you do have the ability to kind of like connect everything using the low code interface, which is the Copilot Studio. So basically, if you want to build a Copilot on top of your business, you can use Copilot Studio and then connect using various pre-built connectors and plugins. So you can bring in those data inside Copilot Studio, and then users should be able to interact and then get some details around like the different business data and everything. So like I mentioned, there are over 1100 plus pre-built plugins already available with the Copilot Studio. And in addition to that, if you want to use like different Power Platform tools like Power Automate, so you can still bring in other business data to your Studio and then accordingly chat with that. So you can build your own Copilot Studio as well from the scratch, and then if you have like OpenAI, you can definitely integrate that with the Copilot Studio, and then accordingly converse with the bot. So on the right hand side, so you can see a quick snapshot of how it would look like. So you don't have to like build anything from scratch. You do have this interface and everything already pre-built in Copilot Studio, and all you have to do is like build or use the out-of-the-box functionality or utilize some of the generative AI functionality. And in addition to that, if you want to use custom functionality or build custom logics, you definitely have the ability to do that as well. So it's a great tool for chatting with the board with minimal code and less code, and it will also allow you to like greatly engage and understand details as well. So if you can go to the next one. So a little bit about the architecture side of things. So Copilot Studio definitely comes with the security aspect of things as well. So you can authenticate using Azure Active Directory, or you can also use single sign-on so that your data is secure. And another thing to kind of like mention is Copilot Studio is built on top of Power Platform. So it also has additional functionalities where you can securely make sure that you allow certain data to be connected, and certain things that your organization don't want, or like your employees don't want to have access, so you do have the ability to restrict that as well. So you can set your data prevention loss policies so that way your data is secure as well. So it allows you to securely access the data. And another thing to mention is, so it is built on top of Azure bot service. So whenever you spin up a new Copilot Studio, it already comes with pre-built entities. Like, for example, if you are talking to the bot regarding a particular number or age, so the bot will automatically be able to understand what you are kind of like referring to. But in addition to that, if you want to build custom entities which is specific to your business, or like for example of ServiceNow, so if you want the bot to understand that you're talking about an incident number, so you can build custom entities, and that will allow the bot to kind of like understand. So you do have the ability to build custom entities on top of the existing one which you already have when you set up a Copilot Studio. And the next thing to kind of like mentions regarding the Azure OpenAI side of things. So Copilot Studio, when you spin up a new Copilot Studio, you do have the ability to enable or disable this functionality. So if you don't want to use generative AI, you do have the ability to turn that off, and then accordingly use various custom logics to kind of like navigate the conversation. But if you want to like use the generative AI functionality, you can definitely use that as well. And then accordingly, the bot will kind of like show and like respond accordingly. So we'll be looking at a couple of use cases as well regarding that shortly. But and in addition to that, if you want to escalate or like transfer to an actual live agent, you do have the ability to kind of like escalate, and then you can transfer that conversation to either a ServiceNow, Dynamics 365, or other contact centers as well. So that will allow you to seamlessly move the conversation from a bot to an actual real agent, and they will have all the insights as well from the bot. And then you also have all the pre-built connectors and HTTP request functionalities available through Power Platform. So most of these are already pre-built, so you don't have to build any custom logic. All you have to do is like use those connectors and accordingly provide the dynamic value so that it can accordingly understand what the user is talking about and then get the appropriate response. So this way, users will be able to talk with a chatbot, and if they want to like escalate, they should be able to do that as well to an actual live agent. So regarding the generative AI functionalities in the Copilot Studio, like I mentioned, so you do have the ability to turn this feature off. So if you would like to turn this on, so you do have the ability to connect to different data sources. So it is not just restricted to ServiceNow. You can connect to your various public data sites, or even the for internal organizations. So you can connect your internal SharePoint. All you need to make sure is that you also have the rate permission, so that way they can the bot can kind of like understand and then accordingly fetch the appropriate details. And in addition to that, if you want to connect to an open AI to your data, so you do have the functionality to do that as well. So you can connect a custom open AI source and then the GPT models, and then the bot will be able to talk to the open AI and then accordingly provide the necessary details. And some of the upcoming features, so you can also upload like documents to the Copilot Studio, and it will be saved in Dataverse, which is the Power Platform database where you can store the documents. And like for example, if you have an FAQ or like specific policy related information document, So you can upload those documents to the Copilot Studio, and the bot will be able to kind of like look that details and even provide that URL as well to the user. So this way, you can kind of like talk, the bot can kind of like use generative AI functionality to get the details and then respond back to the user. And finally, you can use the custom data, like for example, the ServiceNow. So you can pull the ServiceNow data. So whenever a user tries to access information related to an open ticket, they can kind of like use the custom data like through various sources like an out-of-the-box connector or like Power Automate or HTTP connectors. So you can use those functionalities to bring the data back to the bot and then get those details. So it's a great way to kind of like use some of the generative AI functionality with minimal code and no code approach. And like I mentioned, so you can integrate this bot in various places and channels. So for example, if you want to deploy the bot to Microsoft Teams, you do have the ability to do that. And in addition to that, if you want to add this bot to a different website, custom website, so you do have the ability to do that as well. So it's pretty seamless, and you can easily integrate the bot in different places where users can access from there. And finally, if you want to kind of like transfer to an agent, so you can do that as well. So Dynamics 365 customer service and ServiceNow are like a couple of great use cases where you can seamlessly transfer to an actual agent. So let's take a look at some of the use cases and example of how you can integrate Copilot Studio with ServiceNow. So the first use case, so you can see that I'm trying to create a new ServiceNow ticket from the bot directly. So I've added like two different screenshots here. On the right hand side, you can see that as an interface, the actual bot interface from the Copilot Studio, and then the one at the bottom is the Teams interface. So you can see that we can train the bot like a certain topics, that if I mention something like I want to open a ticket or like I want to open a ServiceNow or ticket, so bot will be able to determine that the user wants to open a new ticket. So we can kind of like navigate how the user or how the user should get the response, and then write some of few questions which you need for opening a new ticket. So you can see that the next thing which bot confirms is like provide to asking the user to provide a short issue description. So we just mentioned that the Outlook app has stopped working, and then it was also asking for some additional details. And then once the details have been provided, so you can see that a new incident has been opened and then provided the user with the ticket number. So this is an easy way where you can kind of like use Copilot Studio and some of the Power Platform capabilities to create new ticket and then get the ticket number from easily using from Teams or even from the Copilot Studio. So another scenario is suppose if there is a knowledge base, ServiceNow knowledge base, and you want to access and get information directly without having to open a new ticket. So you can see that on the top, I just mentioned like cookies. So what it did was it looked at the knowledge base and then tried to like determine if there are any knowledge base article with that cookies mentioned. So and it accordingly returned back with a couple of URLs, which is directly linked to the knowledge base as well. So it's an easy conversational boosting way. So you don't have to build a custom topic or like logic, and the bot will be able to kind of like look at the knowledge base, and if there is any articles related to or what user have typed, it will accordingly return those results. And then user should also be able to get a link, and they should be able to go there and try to perform some of the resolution steps as well. So it is another a great way for Copilot Studio to be integrated with ServiceNow or to get access to the knowledge base. And finally, little bit around the generative AI response and like types. So we can also enable the dynamic chaining functionality in Copilot Studio that allows the bot to kind of like try to get some generative AI functionality and then also increase the conversational coverage with some additional capabilities. So we have added like 3 different screenshots here, and you can pretty much see that in all 3 scenarios, I've used the same ticket number, but the response which you are getting is depending on how the user have asked the question. So for example, in the first one, I mentioned like I need details on ServiceNow ticket and provided the ticket number. So you can see it provided a bunch of response from the ticket, like the ticket number, short description, and all those additional details. But for the second one, so I just mentioned what is the status of my open ticket. So the Copilot Studio was able to determine that the user was asking for the status and not some additional details. So you can see that the response is pretty much that it is in progress. And then for the third one, I just typed a different approach. So you can see that it provided a different response as well. So using some of these generative AI functionalities enabled in Copilot Studio, you can seamlessly integrate and get response from the board. And then so that way you don't have to log into multiple places. So it's a really good way to kind of like integrate and then get details from Copilot Studio.
Awesome. So what do you think, Ajay? Do you think we should show them
Yep.
how it works?
Yep. We can show a quick demo about like a couple of things. Just give me a moment. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So you can see that I just added, I'm using this Teams interface, and you can easily integrate and add as an app in Microsoft Teams, in addition to like, integrating with public website or like different websites. So you can see that it'll be an open chat and you can continuously ask for details. So if I just go ahead and like type something, so it will kind of like ask, hello, how can I help you today? And if I'm just going to mention that I want to open ticket. So now what we are trying to do is we want to like open a new ticket over here. So just a moment. So you can see that the bot responded. Of course, I can help you with that. And could you please provide a short description? So I'm just going to mention Citrix issue. So these are some of the basic details which you need to like provide before opening a ticket. So So now you can see that it went ahead and then created a new ticket and it provided the ticket number. So if we look at the backend side of things, so if I go ahead and if I go ahead and search, so you can see that it went ahead and created a new ticket in ServiceNow. And then whatever information I've provided, so it has been added, and you can see that it has been assigned to a different group, and assigned to has also been set. So this way, user can directly create a new ticket or directly from the Copilot Studio board in Teams, or as well as from an actual board as well. And now, next thing which I'm going to do is I'm just going to type something like cookies.
And while it's doing that, I just want to let everybody know that all of the data that's being gathered here can all be customized. So if you have custom fields, if you have anything that is specific to your org, we can tailor bots to gather whichever information you need in order to facilitate that request up.
Yep. So I just typed cookies without any context or anything. So what it did was the bot went ahead and checked the knowledge base, and then it provided a couple of details and then two different URLs as well. So and the reason why we got two URLs is because so when it checked the knowledge base, it found multiple articles with similar context. So you can see that it provided the link as well. So on clicking the link, you can see that it directly took me to the knowledge base details as well. And in addition to that, if I go to the second one, you can see that it provided details regarding a different knowledge base article as well. So you can see a lot of additional information regarding that and the direct link to the base as well. So this way you can directly integrate and access the knowledge base as well as create new ServiceNow ticket directly from an interface, which is in Teams, or if you want to use an actual pod. So this is an example of how you can access the Copilot Studio portal and then chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that demo.
Yep.
Appreciate it,
No
Jay.
worries. Mhm.
My screen back up. Awesome. So what did we go through, right? Generative AI is here. We can leverage it to gain efficiencies. We can meet our customers where they are, be it ServiceNow, Teams, or other chat platform. We can leverage those interactions to give them better experiences. We can empower our agents to be able to do work faster. But how can we wrap this all together? So what we normally do at the end of these is we have our calls to action, right? So what we like to do is we do a few things. So we always say you can start with one or do them all. But what we like to do is offer envisioning sessions to anybody that is on the call. And what we do is we offer those for free. And we like to come in and take a look at different business use cases. Just start visioning the art of the possible. Take a look at examples that are specific to your business org, help you define roadmaps and strategies. Break out into groups, invite all of your different business orgs to the conversation to have discussions about how AI can be leveraged in your environment, how AI can be used in ServiceNow, evaluate efficiency gains, financial opportunity. We can go into evaluating specific scenarios. If you already have a specific scenario in mind for a use case in your organization that is specific to you, we can tailor that experience for either ServiceNow or Copilot, and we offer, scenarios for a variety of different areas of our business. Modern applications, cloud, and we can also do specific roadmaps to those use cases. So we have this grandiose idea, but how do we get there? And we also can do full-blown POCs of these different engagements. So specific to Copilot, if we wanted to evaluate a use case there, or if you have ServiceNow and you're not leveraging virtual agent, or you're just starting your AI journey, we can start having conversations about how would you enable that? How would you go through the brainstorming sessions of getting us to ensure that our data is correct, our knowledge bases are proper, being able to set ourselves up for success to be able to develop and build a POC that would create those experiences or tailor those ideas for not only our employees, but also our analysts. And even if you wanted to do POCs on general ServiceNow modules, we also do that. I mean, we're proficient in about 7 modules of ServiceNow, including ITSM, CSM, HRSD, ITAM, ITOM, HAM, SAM. Our team has deep experience in all of those areas. So with that, Nate, did you have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, it looks like we have some questions.
Oh, fantastic. I love questions.
So the first question is, when returning results from the knowledge base, does it respect security of ServiceNow and only return articles that the user only has access to.
It does. So it is back-ended by not only the question that they're asking, or if they're asking for a specific document that there are ACLs in place on, be it role-based or otherwise, it respects that and will only give them results from knowledge that they have access to. Yes, that is correct.
That's also the same for M365 Copilot and its sort of relationship into the story as well. So it's kind of inclusive of that.
Yep, indeed.
And Blake, hopefully that answered your question. Other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll stick around here for a minute and would love to address those as well. I have a question, actually, Brian.
Sure.
You mentioned the licensing ad that has to happen. Is that licensing every user in the service? So this is specific to the Now Assist capabilities.
Yep.
Is that requiring every user to be up to every user to be moved up to that increased license, or just some subset of users? Like, how does that work?
So licensing for ServiceNow specific to ITSM is based on the users that are in your ITIL group. So if you take a look at that group, it's just the uplift in licensing for that ITIL user group. So say you have 30 analysts that are in ITIL, it would be whatever the cost is for those 30 analysts plus the uplift to ITSM Pro, and then whatever else you decide to throw in during your renewal process. But no, the uplift is not based on your entire user estate. So if you had 3,000 users in your org, it's not based on that at all. So if you uplift ITSM Pro, all of your employees that are you leveraging things like Employee Center, they all have access to the Gen AI capabilities at that point. Yep, good question.
Super, that's awesome. Thank you. And how does the licensing work for the Copilot license, Ajay? Like, you don't like, just walk me through that. Like, what if I was going to put Copilot in front of ServiceNow using Copilot Studio? How do I have to license that instance in relationship to ServiceNow, and well, at least specifically the Copilot part?
So when you purchase like the M365 Copilot, it comes and the Copilot Studio is included. But there are situations where you may not want like the M365, but just want the Copilot Studio. So there are additional licensing options where you can purchase for X number of responses and actions. So that way, if you want to like just use Copilot Studio and not the M365 one, so you can totally do that as well.
That's cool. So even if they didn't use Copilot, M365 Copilot, which they should, but let's just pretend they don't have it for now. That is still a possibility. They could light up the Copilot Studio in conjunction with ServiceNow. And Brian, do they need like any special ServiceNow licensing to wire that up, or is it just they can do it as is?
For specific to Copilot?
Yeah.
No. They as long as they have ITSM licensing, you can hook up Copilot to ITSM even at standard, right? And get all the capability. That's why we kind of brought this together, because if you have ITSM standard but don't want to go pro and have Copilot through M65 or individual licensing, as Ajay had said, then you could technically wire up some of the same functionality and get some of the same gains from teams that you can get as if you had professional with Now Assist. So
that's super
it's
cool.
we're kind of bridging the gap between Microsoft's solution and ServiceNow. It's kind of cool.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, this was a great conversation. Super awesome options for customers. Like, why would you not do this, frankly? I mean, it's like what people have been asking for a long time. So it's just, this is great. Thank you for breaking down either the sort of ServiceNow out-of-box option or using Copilot Studio, or maybe even combining both. really looking forward to following up and having some more conversations with everyone who attended, and also talking about every ServiceNow customer and making this real. So hope everyone has a great
Awesome.
rest of your day. Fill out the survey. We want to know how you liked the session and what your thoughts are on taking some next steps. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.